I got fired for laughing at a stick figure cat, and I didn't even know the cat had a name, a backstory, and a funeral. I've spent the last 3 days rotating between my couch, the floor, and staring at my ceiling like it owes me money. The ceiling doesn't, but my emotional state sure does. I've replayed Friday about 1,000 times, and each time I still walk into the same bear trap. The only difference is now I know the bear was standing right there, waving at me, and everyone else just assumed I could see it too. I'm typing this out at 3 in the morning, because my brain is a blender set to puree, and I need to strain out some sense before I start applying for jobs I'm not mentally prepared to interview for. I had been at Anderson Creative Group for 4 months. For months, I was still technically on probation, which is corporate speak for we can throw you out with the trash and not even feel bad about the paperwork. My title was Junior Account Coordinator, which meant I was basically a very polite message forwarder with a decent 401k option. I handled the grunt work for existing clients, sending invoices, answering emails, making sure nobody panicked about their quarterly ad spend. My boss, a woman named Patricia who ran on coffee and quiet disappointment, kept telling me I was doing great. "You've got the touch, Danny," she'd say. "Just keep your head down and your emails short." I was good at it. I liked the rhythm of it. My goal was to eventually move into the creative side, actually brainstorming campaigns, instead of just babysitting them. But I understood the game. You pay your dues, you learn the clients, you prove you won't set anything on fire. Then they let you hold the matches. Everything was fine, boring, even, and then came the retreat. The company has 3 offices, the main hub in Portland, where I worked, and 2 smaller satellite offices, one in Bend and one down in Eugene. The owner, a man named Gerald Anderson, usually floated between them like a wealthy, stressed-out ghost. I'd seen him maybe twice. Once during my interview, where he shook my hand, grunted, and left the room. Once at a holiday party, where he stood in a corner and looked at his watch every 30 seconds. But for the quarterly retreat, everyone comes to Portland. It's a whole thing. Team building, trust exercises, and the main event, a pitch competition where we pretend to sell something to a fake client, and everyone pretends to care about winning. The Friday of the retreat started normal. Coffee, small talk. Patricia reminded me to network. Even though networking feels like asking strangers to pretend to like me, the conference room was packed. I recognized most of the Portland crew, but the satellite folks were a blur of unfamiliar faces. I grabbed a seat near the back, next to a guy named Wes from accounting who smelled faintly of weed and ambition. That's when I saw her, a woman, probably in her late 20s, standing by the coffee station. She was struggling with the lid on one of those styrofoam cups, her hands shaking slightly as she tried to press it down. She had a kind face, but she was clearly having a tough time. People were kind of orbiting around her, not making eye contact, pretending to be very interested in the bagels. I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who hates watching people struggle. I walked over. "Hey, need a hand with that?" She looked up, startled, then gave me a grateful smile. "Yes, please. These lids, they're mean." I laughed. "They're the worst invention since the paper straw." I took the cup, pressed the lid on easily, and handed it back. "There you go." "Thank you," she said, her voice a little loud, a little unmodulated. "My dad says I have to drink it. He says it keeps me awake. I don't like it. It's bitter, but he's the boss." I smiled. "Well, we can't argue with the boss. I'm Danny, by the way." "Rachel," she said. "I work in Eugene. I do stuff, whatever they need." "Nice to meet you, Rachel." I grabbed my own coffee, and we walked back toward the conference room together. She was slow, deliberate in her movements, but she seemed perfectly pleasant. We parted ways when she headed toward the front of the room, where a group of Eugene people were sitting. I went back to my seat, next to Wes. Dude, Wes whispered, watching her walk away. You just made a friend for life. What do you mean? He shrugged. Nothing. Just, that was nice of you. She's the owner's daughter. I looked back at her. She was sitting down, carefully placing her coffee on the table. Oh, huh. I didn't know he had a daughter. He does. She's at every retreat. Nice girl. Just, I didn't know, but I nodded like I did. People have their own shorthand for things they don't want to explain. I let it go. The morning was a blur of icebreakers and trust falls. I caught someone from Bend, broke someone else's fall, and learned way too much about Wes's opinions on office ventilation. By lunch, I was tired but in good spirits. The afternoon was the main event. Patricia stood at the front of the room, clapping her hands like a camp counselor. All right, everyone, you know the drill. We've got a list of 3 potential clients. You'll break into your office teams, Portland, Bend, Eugene. You have 2 hours to come up with a pitch for one of them. Slogans, jingles, mock-ups, whatever you want. Creativity counts. Impress us. There was a collective groan, but it was a happy groan. People like showing off. They like being clever. I ended up in a group with a few Portland people I knew. Maya from design, Trevor from sales, and a quiet intern named Jenna. We picked a client, a local brewery looking to rebrand, and got to work. I'm not a designer, but I can string words together. I came up with a tagline, Brew Happy, and a stupid little jingle about hops and happiness. Maya sketched out a logo. Trevor talked a lot. Jenna took notes. It was fun. It was easy. When the 2 hours were up, we all filed into the big conference room. Gerald Anderson was sitting at the head of the table, looking tired. Rachel was next to him, her hands folded in her lap. A few people from Eugene were clustered around her, talking softly. Patricia stood by the projector. All right, let's see what we've got. We'll go one by one. Remember, feedback is a gift. Even if it's a lump of coal, it's still a gift. Everyone laughed. I laughed. The presentation started. Some were great, slick, professional, clearly the work of people who did this for a living. Some were terrible, half-baked ideas thrown together at the last minute. We laughed at the terrible ones. The people who made them laughed too. That was the culture. You had to have thick skin. Maya's design for our brewery got a lot of compliments. My jingle got a mixed reaction. A few people said it was catchy. One guy from Bend said it sounded like a commercial for a dentist. I shrugged it off. It was all in good fun. Then Patricia pulled up the next submission. It was a drawing. A very simple drawing. Stick figures. A cat, I think, with giant whiskers and a lopsided smile. The client name at the top was the same brewery we had chosen. The tagline, written in wobbly capital letters, said, "Beer is yummy for cats and people." I snorted. I couldn't help it. It was so earnest, so childlike, so completely wrong for a brewery. I leaned over to Trevor and whispered, "Did a kindergartner break into the conference room?" Trevor didn't laugh. He didn't even smile. He just stared at the screen, his face completely blank. I looked around. The room had gone silent. Not the good kind of silent, the kind that follows a joke. The bad kind. The kind where you realize you're the only one still laughing. Maya was staring at her hands. Jenna was looking at the ceiling. Wes, from accounting, was shaking his head slightly, like he was watching a car crash in slow motion. Patricia cleared her throat. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Gerald Anderson stood up. He didn't look at me. He didn't need to. He looked at his daughter. Rachel's face was red, her eyes wet. She was shrinking into her chair, her shoulders hunched. I felt the blood drain out of my face. Patricia walked over to me, her heels clicking on the floor like a countdown. "Danny," she said, her voice low, "go back to your desk. Now." I opened my mouth to explain, to apologize, to say anything. She shook her head. "Now." I got up. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. I walked out of the conference room, past the silent faces, past the pitying looks, past Rachel, who wouldn't look at me at all. I sat at my desk for an hour. No one came to talk to me. No emails. No calls. I just sat there, staring at my screen, replaying the moment over and over. When the retreat finally ended, I heard the doors open, the murmur of voices, the shuffle of feet. I walked to Patricia's office. The door was open. She was sitting at her desk, rubbing her temples. "I'm sorry," I said. "I didn't know. I didn't know it was hers." She looked up at me. For a second, I saw something like sympathy in her eyes. Then it was gone. "Danny, you're still on probation. Gerald doesn't want you here. I don't have a choice. I can apologize. I'll apologize to her, to him, to everyone. He doesn't want an apology. He wants you gone." She picked up her phone. "Security will be here in a minute. Please don't make this harder." They walked me out, box of my stuff, escort to the door, the whole humiliating production. I stood on the sidewalk, holding a cardboard box filled with a coffee mug and a stress ball shaped like a brain, and watched the door close behind me. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Maya. "Hey," she said, "we're all going to a bar. You should come." I don't think I'm in the mood. It's not a party. It's we feel terrible. Come, please. I went. The bar was dark and loud, the kind of place where you could have a breakdown, and no one would notice. Maya, Trevor, Jenna, and a few others were huddled around a table in the back. They had a pitcher of beer and a lot of guilty faces. "I can't believe no one told you," Maya said, shaking her head. "I just assumed you knew. Everyone knows." "How would I know?" I said, "I've been here 4 months. I've never even seen her before today." "Rachel's been coming to these retreats for years," Trevor said. "She always submits something. A drawing, a poem, once she wrote a song. It's always simple, childlike. Everyone just knows to be nice about it. We all just smile and move on. Why didn't anyone warn me?" "We thought you knew," Jenna said quietly. "We thought someone must have told you. It's one of those things. Everyone knows." "Well, I didn't know, and now I'm fired." They all looked at their drinks. She's not slow," Maya said after a moment. "I mean, she is, but not like that. She had a brain injury. When she was a kid, car accident. Her mom died. Rachel survived, but it changed her. She has trouble talking, trouble moving. People think she's dumb, but she's not. She just can't get the words out fast enough." I stared at my beer. "She works in Eugene," Trevor added. "They give her busy work. Filing, sorting, stuff like that. She's happy just to be there. Her dad, he doesn't really know what to do with her. He loves her, I think, but he's not good at showing it. He's not good at a lot of things." Maya leaned forward. "He tried to set her up with a guy from Ben once. Forced him to go to dinner. It was a disaster. The guy quit." "Wow." "Yeah. So, it's complicated." I finished my beer. "Well, thanks for the reference, at least. I'm going to need it." They all promised to give me glowing reviews. They all looked relieved when I left. I went home. I drank. I stared at the ceiling. And then, on Saturday morning, I got a notification. "Rachel Anderson sent you a friend request." I stared at it for a full minute. Her face was a small, blurry photo. A smile. A kind face. The same face I had watched crumple in embarrassment. I didn't accept it. I couldn't. Not yet. I spent the weekend spiraling. Drinking, sleeping, hating myself, hating the situation, hating that no one told me, hating that I was the one who had to pay for it. But by Sunday night, I knew what I had to do. I talked to my best friend, a guy named Sam who has known me since we were 7. Sam is the kind of person who tells you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. You're going to feel like garbage until you apologize, he said. So just do it. Clear your conscience. Then move on. I accepted the friend request. I typed out a message. It took me 10 minutes to get it right. Rachel, I'm so sorry for what I said about your drawing. It was unprofessional and rude, and I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to know I'm genuinely sorry. I hit send. Then I put my phone down and tried to breathe. She responded an hour later. Thank you for the apology. Can I copy and paste something to you? I said yes. A moment later, a wall of text appeared. It was clearly written carefully, thoughtfully, with pauses and corrections. Hi, Danny. My name is Rachel. Please forgive me if I'm slow to respond. I had a brain injury when I was little. It makes it hard for me to type and talk. I want to say I'm sorry you lost your job. I didn't want that. I tried to tell my dad, but he wouldn't listen. I sent you the friend request because I wanted to apologize too. I know you didn't know. I could tell by your face. You look confused, not mean. I'm sorry. I read it 3 times. Then I typed back, you don't have anything to apologize for. This was my fault. But thank you. That means a lot. We talked for hours. Slow, halting messages, sometimes with long gaps while she typed. She told me about the accident. She told me about her mom. She told me about school, about being put in special ed even though she could keep up, about begging her dad to let her go to college, and him saying no. He doesn't understand, she wrote. He thinks if I can't talk fast, I can't think fast. But I can. I just need time. I told her about my job, about my stupid jingle, about how I actually liked the brewery, and hoped they'd pick a good campaign. I liked your jingle, she wrote. It was funny, better than my cat. I laughed, a real laugh, the first one in days. Your cat was cute, I wrote. Wrong for a brewery, but cute. I know, she wrote. I just like cats. And beer is yummy. We talk until 2 a.m. She asked if I'd watched the new season of The Bear. I said yes. She said she wanted to watch it, but it made her anxious because everyone yelled. I told her that was fair. Before we said goodnight, she wrote one more thing. Danny, can I ask you something? Sure. Will you still talk to me? Even though I got you fired? I stared at the screen. My throat tightened. Rachel, you can get me fired. I got myself fired. And yes, I'll still talk to you. I like that. Good, she wrote. Me too. I'm not going to marry her for revenge. I'm not going to take over her dad's company and fire him from a cannon. I'm not going to do any of the things the internet joked about. But I am going to be her friend. Because she's smart and she's kind. And she deserves someone who will wait for her to finish her sentences. And honestly, so do I.